Good morning, beloved in Christ. Today, I want to speak directly to every heart that has ever felt the weight of lost time, unanswered prayers, or seasons that seemed empty. I want to speak to the weary, the broken, the discouraged, and those who feel that life has passed them by. I want to tell you something that may change the way you see your past, your present, and your future. I want to tell you that God has not forgotten you. I want to tell you that every tear, every delay, every moment you felt hopeless is being gathered by the hand of God and transformed into something powerful, beautiful, and life-changing. Imagine with me for a moment a God who sees beyond your mistakes, beyond your regrets, and beyond the years you feel were wasted. Imagine a God who is not limited by time, who does not count your failures as the end, but who counts every moment as part of a grand plan designed specifically for you. Imagine a God who is ready to restore, renew, and multiply every area of your life that has been broken, lost, or delayed. This is not a dream. This is not wishful thinking. This is the promise of a God whose power knows no limits, whose love never fails, and whose mercy is new every morning. As we journey together today, I want you to open your heart fully. I want you to put aside every doubt, every fear, and every thought that says it is too late for you, that your story is over, or that your past defines you. Because today, we will discover how God restores what has been lost, how He transforms brokenness into strength, emptiness into abundance, and despair into hope. Today, we will see that the God we serve is a God of restoration, a God who takes what the enemy intended for harm and turns it into testimony, who turns sorrow into joy, who turns delay into destiny. So, stay with me, keep your hearts open, and let your spirit receive this truth, no matter how dark the past may have been, no matter how impossible your situation seems. God is ready to restore your wasted years in ways you never imagined. By the end of this message, you will not only understand restoration, you will feel it, believe it, and see it as a reality for your life. Let us embark on this journey together, and let your hope rise, because the God who is about to speak into your life is faithful, powerful, and relentless in His love. God's restoration is never limited by time, because time itself is something God created, not something God is controlled by. When we say we have wasted years or lost seasons, we are speaking from a human perspective, a viewpoint shaped by clocks, calendars, and memories. But God sees your life through eternity, not moments. He does not see a broken timeline, but a living soul He formed with purpose. To you, 10 years may feel like too long, a decade may feel wasted, or months may seem irretrievable. But to God, those years are still accessible, still redeemable, and still able to be transformed for your good. God does not look at your past and say, "This is too late to fix." He looks at your past and says, "Watch what I can do with what you bring to me." The truth is that nothing is ever too far gone for the one who created time, redeemed time, and stands outside of time. When a believer thinks they have wasted years, they often imagine God having to go back into their past to make things right. But God does not return to your past. He moves into your future. He does not restore by taking you backward. He restores by accelerating you forward in ways you could never plan. You may think the delay slowed you down, but God uses the delay as preparation. You may think the failure set you back, but God uses that setback as a foundation for strength you would not have discovered without it. When God restores wasted years, He does not give you the same moments you lost. He gives you better moments, stronger seasons, deeper wisdom, and greater blessings than the ones you missed. Many people live with silent regret, believing that time has slipped away from them. They think about the years of fear, the years of sin, the years of confusion, the years of heartbreak, the years of missed opportunities. But what they forget is that God never wastes a season. Even the years you call wasted become ingredients for the restoration He is preparing. God can compress harvest into short seasons. He can bring breakthroughs in sudden moments. He can open doors in a single day that you waited for in many years. He can change your story so quickly that your past pain becomes unrecognizable compared to your future blessing. When God restores time, He He does not simply give back what was lost, he multiplies it. He turns what looked like empty years into years of abundance. He turns what seemed broken into something stronger than before. He takes the years when you walked in confusion and repays them with years of clear purpose. He takes the years of tears and replaces them with years of joy that overflow. And he does this not because you earned it, but because he is faithful. God's restoration is based on his character, not your performance. He restores because he promised to restore. He redeems because he delights in redemption. He rebuilds because he is the God who makes all things new. There are people who think they're too old, too late, or too damaged for restoration. They think time has worked against them, but time does not threaten God's purpose. Time bows to God's purpose. He can restore your youth like the eagle. He can renew your spirit like the morning. He can revive dreams that died years ago. He can reconnect you to opportunities you thought were permanently lost. God can take what the enemy stole and return it in ways that show his glory. It does not matter how many days have passed or how many years feel wasted. God can gather every broken piece of your timeline and turn it into a story of restoration that reveals his mercy and his power in your life. God uses broken seasons to build greater strength, because nothing in the life of a believer is random, wasted, or unnoticed by heaven. Every moment of difficulty, every tear shed, every disappointment carried, and every valley walked through becomes a part of God's shaping process. Even when the enemy meant to destroy you, God was quietly using that same season to develop something inside you that could not have grown in ease or comfort. Many believers do not realize that some of the deepest spiritual muscles are formed in the moments when they felt weakest. The strength God brings out of broken seasons is not physical strength, but spiritual endurance, resilience, faith that cannot be shaken, and a depth of trust that only rises from places of pain. When we look at a broken season, we often see only loss. We see unanswered questions, shattered expectations, betrayal, struggle, waiting, and silence. But while you were looking at the brokenness, God was looking at the potential. While you saw emptiness, God saw preparation. While you saw a delay, God saw development. The years that felt barren were actually years God was building roots. He was deepening your foundation, stretching your faith, refining your character, and preparing you for blessings you were not yet ready to carry. Broken seasons often strip away distractions, illusions, and false security, so that God can rebuild you on truth, humility, and strength that lasts. There are lessons you learned in pain that you would have never learned in peace. There are prayers you prayed in desperation that opened doors in the spiritual realm. There are moments when you felt alone, not realizing that heaven was standing right beside you, shaping you into someone with spiritual authority. God's greatest growth often happens in hidden seasons, in quiet seasons, in seasons where nothing seems to move. Growth is not measured by how much you can see, but by how deeply God is working behind the scenes. The things you thought broke you were actually building you. The situations that made you cry made you stronger. The challenges that made you question your future prepared you for the future God already designed. Broken seasons may have humbled you, but they also positioned you for elevation. They may have slowed you down, but they also protected you from rushing into places you were not ready to enter. They may have emptied you, but they emptied you of the things that would have hindered your destiny. God often allows broken moments so he can pull out the things that weaken you and replace them with things that empower you. Out of heartbreak, he grows compassion. Out of loss, he grows gratitude. Out of confusion, he grows discernment. Out of failure, he grows wisdom. Out of deep sorrow, he grows deep faith. If you look closely, you will realize that you are not the same person you were before the broken season. Your prayers are stronger. Your worship is deeper. Your understanding of God is richer. Your patience is wider. Your spirit is more stable. The breaking did not destroy you. It transformed you. The season that felt like it was taking everything from you was the season God was giving you spiritual maturity that you could not receive any other way. Nothing God builds in you during broken seasons is temporary. It becomes part of your foundation. When God strengthens you through hardship, He strengthens you permanently. The strength you gain in those moments becomes the strength that carries you into your next breakthrough. What felt like a crushing season becomes the reason you can now stand, speak, and walk with confidence. God never wastes pain. He treats it as material for construction. He takes the fragments of your broken seasons and turns them into pillars of strength that lift you into the destiny He designed for you. Restoration begins when you return to God with an open heart, because the heart is the gateway through which God moves into every area of your life. Many believers wait for their circumstances to change, hoping that doors will open or that blessings will arrive before they make a decision to come fully to God. But God does not wait for perfect conditions. He does not require flawless timing, flawless past, or flawless effort. He responds to a heart that is willing to come back, a heart that is willing to surrender pride, fear, regret, and stubbornness, and a heart that says, "Lord, I am yours. Come and work in me." Returning to God is not just an action, it is a posture of humility and trust, acknowledging that His ways are higher than our ways, His timing is perfect, and His restoration is true. Many people struggle to approach God because they feel unworthy, burdened by guilt, or convinced that their mistakes have permanently closed the doors of mercy. Yet the truth is that God's mercy is inexhaustible, and His forgiveness is limitless. When a believer steps back into God's presence, even with trembling hands and a heavy heart, they trigger divine restoration. God does not ask for the strength to fix your life first. He asks for the willingness to open your heart. He asks for a step of faith that trusts His love over your doubts, His wisdom over your understanding, and His timing over your impatience. The moment you return with sincerity, the restoration process begins. Returning to God with an open heart also requires honesty. It requires naming the pain, confessing the mistakes, acknowledging the losses, and surrendering the areas you cannot control. It means letting go of the illusion that you can rebuild life on your own. God honors honesty, and in that space, He begins to pour His life into yours. When a heart is open, God's Spirit can move freely, aligning your steps with His purpose, clearing your path of deception, and awakening dreams that were dormant. It is in this vulnerability that God's restoration flows, not as a slow trickle, but as a powerful river that replenishes, renews, and revives. The beauty of returning to God is that you do not need to carry the baggage of your past into your future. You can lay it down at His feet. Every regret, every failure, every missed opportunity can be surrendered, and in return, God gives hope, clarity, and direction. Restoration is not conditional upon the perfection of your actions, but on the openness of your heart to receive His love and guidance. God delights in restoring those who approach Him with trust and humility, and He often does so in ways that surpass human imagination. An open heart invites God's transformative power. It is not enough to simply attend church, pray occasionally, or read scripture. Restoration requires intentional intimacy with the Father. It requires listening, obeying, and seeking His face above all else. When your heart is open, God speaks into your life in ways that bring healing, realignment, and renewal. He begins to reorder your priorities, reshape your thoughts, and rekindle your vision. The act of returning with an open heart is the key that unlocks the hidden treasures of restoration that have been waiting for you all along. It is important to recognize that returning to God is not a one-time event, but a continuous journey. The heart that stays open continues to receive, continues to grow, continues to be restored. Every moment spent in His presence brings layers of healing that compound over time. Even seasons of waiting, trial, or uncertainty become fertile ground for transformation when the heart remains open to God's work. God's restoration flows not only into circumstances, but also into character, faith, and destiny, and it begins with a simple yet profound act of returning to Him with a heart fully open. God's restoration exceeds human imagination. because his ways are far higher than our ways and his thoughts are far beyond our comprehension. When we try to measure God's power or limit his blessings to what we can understand, we diminish the divine capacity to restore. Human beings tend to think in terms of what seems possible, reasonable, or attainable, but God does not operate within the limits of human reasoning. What you may see as a minor restoration, God sees as a complete transformation. What you may expect as a return of what was lost, God intends as a multiplication far beyond your expectations. Our imagination cannot capture the fullness of God's plans, and our understanding cannot predict the depth of his grace. Many believers make the mistake of thinking that restoration is simply getting back what was taken from them. They hope for circumstances to change, relationships to mend, or opportunities to return in the way they remember. But God's restoration is never limited to replacement. It is always greater. He takes what was broken and makes it beautiful, what was small and makes it abundant, what was lost and makes it legendary. His restoration transforms ordinary lives into testimonies of his glory. He restores not only what was taken, but multiplies it into blessings that reflect his love, power, and creativity. The restoration God provides is often beyond anything we could have dreamed of, planned for, or even imagined. The limitation of human imagination can make us impatient or doubtful. We may look at our lives and see only emptiness, setbacks, and lost years, and we may struggle to envision how they could ever be restored. But the God we serve is not constrained by what we can see. He restores in ways that defy logic, human expectation, and natural explanation. A person who had lost everything may suddenly experience breakthroughs, doors opening in unlikely places, and opportunities arising from sources they never expected. A broken relationship may be restored with deeper love and understanding than ever before. A life that felt purposeless may be filled with divine direction and calling that surpasses imagination. God delights in exceeding our expectations because he wants to show that the restoration is from him, not from human effort or planning. God's restoration also reaches into areas of life that we may not even realize need repairing. It is not limited to material or visible gains. He restores faith that was shaken, joy that was stolen, hope that was lost, and identity that was questioned. He restores confidence, spiritual authority, wisdom, and a sense of purpose. The restoration he brings is comprehensive, touching every part of who we are and how we walk in the world. Even years of regret or failure can become sources of strength and testimony when God multiplies them into lessons, opportunities, and spiritual maturity. Believers are often surprised when they encounter God's restoration because it comes in ways that are unplanned, unexpected, and sometimes shocking to the human mind. What seems impossible, God makes possible. What seems delayed, God brings in his perfect timing. What seems lost forever, God restores beyond imagination. This is because God's vision is unlimited, and his understanding surpasses time, circumstance, and human limitation. When we release our expectations and trust him fully, we open ourselves to receive blessings that are far beyond what we could have anticipated. God's restoration also has a ripple effect that touches not just our own lives, but the lives of those around us. When he restores one area, it often brings opportunities for influence, testimony, and encouragement to others. The depth, richness, and abundance of God's restoration are evidence of his divine power, mercy, and faithfulness, showing that he is able to turn every loss into gain, every sorrow into joy, and every setback into a platform for greater purpose than we could ever imagine. Your past cannot stop God's future for you, because the God who controls time and eternity is greater than every mistake, failure, and misstep you have ever made. Many believers allow regret, guilt, or shame to weigh them down, convincing themselves that their past choices define their future, or limit what God can do in their lives. Yet the truth is that God's power to redeem, restore, and realign your life is not constrained by what has already happened. No matter how many years were spent in confusion, fear, sin, or disappointment, God can still take your story and turn it into a testimony of victory. Your past experiences, no matter how painful, do not disqualify you from receiving the promises of God, nor do they reduce the potential of what He has planned for your life. Many people feel trapped by the decisions they made, by relationships that failed, or by opportunities that were missed. They look back with regret, believing that the consequences of their past will follow them forever. But God sees beyond the mistakes, and He works in ways that transform the effects of your past into foundations for your future. What you may consider failure, God uses as preparation. What you may see as loss, God uses as a lesson. What you view as wasted years, God redeems into wisdom, strength, and spiritual insight. Your past is not a prison, it is a classroom. Every trial, every heartbreak, every setback contains within it the seeds of restoration and breakthrough that God can activate in His perfect timing. The enemy often tries to convince believers that their past defines them, that their failures limit God's blessings, or that it is too late for restoration. This is a lie that brings fear, hesitation, and doubt. God's word is clear. His grace is sufficient. His mercy is new every morning, and His plans for His children are for hope and not for harm. Even if you have walked in sin, neglect, or fear for years, God is able to reclaim your story and align it with His purpose. He can turn shame into honor, sorrow into joy, and defeat into triumph. Your past may have shaped you, but it does not have the final say over the destiny God has prepared for you. God also uses your past to increase your empathy, compassion, and understanding of others. The experiences that you once wished had never happened can become the very experiences that enable you to minister to, encourage, and guide others in ways you never thought possible. The scars you carry can become a testimony of God's faithfulness. The lessons you learned in failure can be a roadmap for someone else's victory. In this way, your past is not a limitation but a tool in God's hands to expand your influence and demonstrate His glory. Restoration from God is not dependent on perfection or absence of past mistakes. It is dependent on faith, surrender, and trust in His timing. When you allow God to move forward with your life, He creates opportunities that are free from the burdens of regret. He clears paths that were blocked by past failures and opens doors that were once closed by fear or disobedience. The future God has for you is larger, more abundant, and more meaningful than anything your past can contain. Every wrong turn, every delay, and every disappointment is used by God to prepare you for something greater than you could have imagined, demonstrating that nothing is wasted in His hands. God's ability to restore, redeem, and reimagine your life proves that the past cannot stop His plan. He can take what was broken, reshape it, and place it into a future filled with hope, purpose, and blessing. Your past may have been difficult, but your future in God's hands is powerful, victorious, and unstoppable. Restoration is not just about what you receive, but who you become, because God's work in your life is transformational, reaching far beyond circumstances, possessions, or achievements. Many believers focus only on the tangible aspects of restoration, expecting God to return what was lost, open doors, or provide opportunities. But God's ultimate goal is to shape character, deepen faith, and renew identity. The process of restoration involves more than the reversal of loss. It involves the remaking of the person in alignment with His divine purpose. Every trial, delay, heartbreak, or challenge you faced is used to refine, strengthen, and prepare you for a level of maturity that can carry the blessings God intends to release. When restoration comes, it brings not only material or visible results, but also an inner transformation that equips you to walk in God's fullness and live in a way that glorifies Him. The heart, mind, and spirit are the main areas where God works during restoration, often in ways that are subtle, unseen, and gradual, yet deeply powerful. A restored person is someone whose faith has been tested and proven, whose patience has been refined, and whose hope has been strengthened. The restoration of a life includes the rebuilding of trust in God, the renewal of passion for his calling, and the development of wisdom that comes only from experience and perseverance. You do not simply return to the state you were in before the loss. You emerge stronger, wiser, and more spiritually equipped than before. The person God shapes in the process of restoration is capable of stewarding greater responsibility, deeper relationships, and a higher level of influence for his kingdom. God also restores perspective and spiritual discernment as part of the transformative process. When you have experienced brokenness, delay, or loss, you gain an understanding of life, people, and eternity that cannot be learned in ease or comfort. Restoration teaches gratitude for blessings, empathy for those in pain, and reliance on God rather than on human strength. A restored life is one in which the individual has been refined by fire, molded by trials, and softened by God's love, producing a character that is humble, yet confident, compassionate yet firm, and spiritually attuned yet practical in daily living. God is not only restoring what was lost, but equipping the believer to handle his blessings wisely and purposefully, ensuring that restoration leads to sustainable growth, rather than temporary gain. Many believers fail to recognize the full scope of God's restoration because they focus only on outcomes rather than transformation. They look for quick fixes, instant answers, or material return, yet God's work often begins internally before manifesting externally. The restoration of character, perspective, and spiritual maturity is foundational to every tangible blessing that follows. When God restores the person, he also restores the ability to steward resources, relationships, opportunities, and influence in ways that align with his divine will. Restoration without transformation can be fleeting, but restoration with transformation is enduring and eternal. Furthermore, the process of becoming who God intends you to be through restoration is a testimony of his power and grace. It demonstrates that no experience, no mistake, no season of loss, and no period of waiting is wasted in his hands. Restored believer becomes a living example of God's ability to redeem, shape, and empower, showing others that restoration is not only about receiving blessings, but about embracing God's purpose for transformation. The person God creates through restoration is equipped to encourage others, inspire faith, and impact lives for his glory in ways that could not have been accomplished without the refining process. God's restoration transforms both life circumstances and the very essence of the person, shaping faith, character, wisdom, and purpose. And it ensures that the restored individual is prepared to walk fully into the destiny he has designed. As we reflect on the journey of God's restoration, we are reminded that no season of our lives is ever wasted in his hands. Every trial, every delay, every lost opportunity, and every moment of pain carries within it the potential for divine renewal. God is not limited by time, and he does not measure our lives by the years we feel were lost. He sees the entirety of our story, and he knows how to transform every setback, disappointment, and broken season into a foundation for greater strength, deeper faith, and abundant blessings. When we surrender our hearts to him, return with humility, and trust in his timing, restoration begins. Often in ways far beyond what we could imagine. The years we thought were wasted, the opportunities we thought were gone, and the failures we feared would define us are all reclaimed and multiplied by God's power, turning our past into a testimony of his glory. Restoration is not just about receiving what was lost, it is about who we become in the process. God uses broken seasons to refine our character, build resilience, deepen our understanding, and cultivate spiritual maturity. Every trial, heartbreak, and challenge becomes a stepping stone for growth, shaping us into vessels capable of carrying greater responsibility and purpose. Our past does not limit God's future for us. No mistake, no failure, no lost year can prevent him from fulfilling his plan. On the contrary, God can take our weaknesses, transform our setbacks, and use our experiences to position us for blessings, influence, and testimonies that we could not have achieved otherwise. He restores not only our circumstances, but our hearts, minds, and spirits, ensuring that the transformation is holistic, permanent, and aligned with his will. When God restores, He restores abundantly. He restores joy where sorrow lived, hope where despair took root, vision where confusion clouded our paths, and purpose where we felt directionless. He restores our faith, strengthens our character, and empowers us to walk boldly into the future He has prepared. God's restoration often exceeds our imagination because His ways are higher, His plans are greater, and His power is limitless. He does not simply replace what was lost. He multiplies it, reshapes it, and elevates it into something far better than we ever expected. And in this restoration, we discover not only blessings but also a renewed identity, a strengthened faith, and a deeper intimacy with the God who never forgets, never fails, and never gives up on His children. As I conclude, I want to encourage each one of you to trust God with the seasons of your life. Whether you feel broken, delayed, or behind, remember that God's restoration is already working. Return to Him with an open heart, allow Him to transform your past, and walk boldly into the future He has designed. Your wasted years are not lost. They are seeds for a harvest that will surpass your imagination. God is faithful, He is powerful, and He is relentless in redeeming every part of your life. Thank you for opening your hearts today, for listening, and for trusting that God can and will restore every lost year in ways beyond what you can imagine. May His peace, His strength, and His abundant blessings follow you as you step into the fullness of His promises. Thank you for being part of this journey, and may God's glory be revealed in every area of your life.